So, what do you think you do with these things? They're kind of weird looking. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and this is my weekly vlog number 84 for Monday, September the 10th, 2018. And I hope everybody had a good week. And it was nice to see everybody yesterday on Stephen and Walter Live. And if you missed us, because we were on a little bit later yesterday, because I taught an art journaling class yesterday, so I didn't get home until a little after 4, and 4 is usually when we put on Stephen and Walter Live on Sundays. We went to 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So thank you for those of you that were able to join us yesterday, and we had some good discussion about a variety of topics like we always do. So what am I working on right now? Well, I finished the bed quilt in terms of layering it together, getting it ready for quilting. And now I'm afraid. I'm very, very afraid. Reason being is this is a huge quilt. It's a queen size. And I want to do a form of free motion quilting on it. I want to do probably ruler foot quilting because that has a little bit more control, I think. And I don't think I'm up to yet to, moving everything around in various directions. I need some guidance here. But I don't want to blow it. And it's a heavy quilt because of its size. So, quilting it on a domestic machine is not the easiest in the world. So I'm playing with my options. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to practice first. And so I'm designing out of scraps a small little table runner. And when I get that all sewn together, which won't take me long, I'm going to try some of the ruler foot techniques and styles that Angela Walters shows on her videos, and we'll see how it goes from there. So that'll be my practice piece, because basically, it's a table runner. It may never be used, especially after I get done with the quilting, because it's an experimental piece. So we'll see. And then when I've got enough confidence, I think I'll go for the quilt. The other option I have is to take the certification for using a long arm quilting machine. There's a place not far from us in our area that for $130, I think it's a 3-hour course or something like that, and they teach you how to use a long arm for free motion quilting. And then from there, you can rent the time for the machine. I think they charge $30 an hour. I think you even get somewhat of a discount or a credit because you took the course. Not sure on that, but either way, that eliminates the problem of the quilt's bulk because it's all stretched on a frame and the whole bit, and so basically your hands are free to hold it. Looks like the control in an airplane basically, and do all your motion. So that's an option as well. I don't know yet. I'll see. In the meantime, I'll start some other projects, but I don't want this to become a UFO, an unfinished object. You hear quilters talk about that all the time. They have a whole pile of UFOs. This one, I've invested a lot of time, effort, and money into this. I want to finish it. It's got to go on the bed. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted. And I am documenting my journey with this, which will eventually be posted on the Idiot Quilters sometime down the road. Okay, YouTube channel of the week. Came across these two guys. They're from Norway. They are knitwear and knit objects, projects, blankets and things, designers. They both have a background in garment design, and I guess they're fairly popular and famous, at least in Norway and in Europe. Although I think people know about them in North America as well. They have several books out. They've been doing this for many, many years. But I came across their YouTube channel, and it's kind of entertaining for a couple of reasons, and so I've got that right here for you now. This week's YouTube channel is by two gentlemen who live in Norway named Arne&Carlos, and that is the name of their YouTube channel as well. I stumbled upon these two gentlemen while I was looking for videos about quilting and sewing and things like that, and they are two Norwegian garment designers who basically do a lot of videos about knitting. Knitting in the traditional Norwegian style, as well as some modern and very artsy kinds of knitting and other sewing projects as well. They did have a video about making quilts out of old lace and other things. It's a bit of mixed media as well. So although these two gentlemen are designers of clothing, and I think over in Norway anyways, and possibly in Europe, they are fairly famous. They have several books out that they have written as well. I think as a mixed media artist, you might get some ideas about how to use fabric or textiles in your own creations. Although they don't specifically talk about that as a mixed media technique, they do show how these things can be incorporated into the knitting that they do, and I think they're transferable to mixed media. So kind of interesting. They're interesting characters as well to listen to them. They do some vlogging every now and then, and because they're from Norway, you get a totally different perspective about another country as they discuss their everyday lives and their life in Norway. So check it out, Arne and Carlos. So even if you're not a knitter or a quilter or into garment design, you'll learn a little bit about Norway through their discussions. I just find them kind of entertaining. In some ways, they're kind of like the Stephen and Walter live in Norway. Wow, I might be stretching that a bit. Okay, new resources are listed below. Stephen and Walter live is there. Arne and Carlos that you just saw, their link is down there. And there's a link for the book I'm going to talk about later today. So let's go to what's pissing me off this week. Well, rude people. And what I mean by that is, and why this got me thinking about this, is the fact that the other day we were in the LCBO. LCBO is the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. It's how our alcohol, our wine, and things like that are all controlled by our provincial government. So I was in the store to get a couple of bottles of wine, and there was a lady in the middle of one of the aisles I was going down. And when I say in the middle, she was blocking the whole aisle physically with her body, staring at the rows of wine, I guess trying to make up her mind what she wanted. Fine and dandy. Not that it's a piece of art that you have to stand way back from to admire, but you know, whatever for this. So I very politely, I had to get by her, so I did walk in front of her, and I said, "Excuse me," you know, because, you know, I learned when I was a kid that if you walked in front of somebody, you know, they're looking at something or whatever, it's just polite to excuse yourself for doing that, okay? So I did. Now, first of all, you would expect that the reply to that, if somebody did that with me, I'd say, they'd go, "Excuse me," I'd go, "No problem," you know, that kind of thing. Nothing from this woman. She was deep in thought, staring down the bottles of wine, okay? So then I'm at the other end of this aisle, and I'm looking at the wine. I'm looking for a particular thing that I wanted. I'm not trying to block the aisle with my body. The aisles aren't that big. I'm in close. But what does she do? Not a word, nothing. Walks right in front of me, to the point where physically her body brushed against mine, okay? Not a word, nothing. She doesn't say, "Excuse me," or "Excuse me, can I just get by here," or something like that, like most people would, or what I would assume most people would do. Okay, it's what I would do. She just barreled right through. So I kind of said under my breath, "You're welcome." Nah, nothing. Completely oblivious to everything else around. And you know, a lot of people, I have noticed these days, are like that. They're completely oblivious to the other people around them when they're in an environment like a store or something like that. You know, I don't know, maybe they're just focused on, I have to get this, I have to get out, bing. But would it kill her to have been less rude? Now, I'm going to say something sexist here. I find that a lot of times Women tend to be like this woman, more so than men. Now, yes, I'm whitewashing everything here, and I'm sorry, and since most of my viewership are women, I'm sorry you're going to get upset with me on this. But why is it? I think I mentioned another thing before. When you come to a door into a public environment, say like a shopping mall, right? And there's people right behind you. I was always taught by my mother that it was the polite thing to do. If you get to the door first and these people are right behind you, you hold open the door to allow them through. That was just the gentlemanly thing, the polite person thing to do. So I do that. 9 times out of 10, when I've done it, and it's usually been for a lady, I get nothing. There is no thank you. They look straight ahead, even to the point where I've gotten to the door first, and they stop behind me expecting that I will hold the door open for them. Not even that. To make this even more annoying, I have been right behind this person, and it's usually been a woman. I'm sorry, but that's what my experience is, okay? I'm not trying to be sexist here. Rude people come in both sexes, okay? I'm right behind them. They squeeze through the door, don't even like put their hand just back to hold it for you like some people do. I've done that for people as well, and they say thank you or whatever, so the door doesn't slam in their face and they do a full facial plant on the glass or whatever. No, they kind of like through, never hold it. Don't say a word, nothing. Why? Why are people like that? And okay, let's one more step further. I'm not picking on women, but it sounds like I am. Sorry. It's just my experience. Elevators. And I mentioned this before. Polite etiquette says that, okay, in the old days, it was when you got into an elevator and there was a lady present in the elevator, when the elevator stopped on the floor that you were getting out from, and it was just polite to allow ladies to go out first, okay? Now, I think it makes it more logical that first in, last out, if it's a crowded elevator. Really? Because that's just more efficient, okay? It has nothing to do with manners. It's just, who's closest to the door. Because if you're at the back, and unless these other people aren't getting out, why would they wait for you to get out if they're getting out as well, okay? It doesn't make any sense. It's blocking the doorway, okay? But I have been in an elevator with women. Now, mind you, these are usually a little bit older ladies, so probably come from the generation that was trained that, ladies first kind of attitude. So, okay, I get that. But some of them, they just barrel right through. They're at the back and they bump into you. Like you're trying to get out, you're going out, you're closer to the door. Makes sense, get out first so you're not blocking other people. And they will barrel through and then they give you this look. Oh, this look of death. Like, how dare you? Like, sorry, Queen of Sheba, kind of a thing. So, just so you don't think I'm picking on women, I've had experiences with men as well. Not as many. However, there are. So, in general, why are people just rude? It's like they're locked into their own environment. They've got big blinders on. All they can see is straight ahead, and anything that's happening around them is of no importance. It doesn't exist. Out of sight, out of mind. And they are the most important people in the world, and they shouldn't. Does it kill somebody just to say, oh, sorry, excuse me, thank you, please? Is that such a big problem? I guess this really what pisses me off is this is the trend in our world today. Everybody out for themselves. Nobody cares about anybody else. It's all very rude. And it makes me feel that I should be rude too. And I think that's even more so what's pissing me off. Because when I'm in a grocery store, and grocery stores are the worst, okay? Grocery stores are the worst because of the way they're designed. Most of the aisles are very, very narrow, so they can get more product in. You've got shopping carts. Those aisles can only handle one shopping cart going one way at a time. You have people with 3 little children hanging off the cart are all over the place, picking at the shelves. You have older people who might need assistance, wheelchairs, walkers, those crazy little scooter things that they're a death trap in themselves. I'm surprised there hasn't been more reported hit and runs in grocery stores or in department stores because of those little scooter things that people ride, because they go at quite a pace. I want to get myself one of those. I think they'd be a lot of fun. But anyways, I digress. Like that, what I'm saying is there's so many people crowded into these smaller spaces by the design of these stores. Would it kill people just to be, polite? Is it going to take that much time out of your day? Is it going to really change the price of rice in China to be nice to somebody? But because they're not nice to me, I get a little rude. I have a lot of rude thoughts in my head. Don't ever get ahead of me in a grocery store in an express line that says 8 items or less and you've got 12. All right? Because you know what's going through my head? Kill, 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 kill. Basically, can't you read? Can't you do the math? In the big scheme of things, does it really matter? Just a reminder, I've said this before. 3 green peppers still count as 3 items, unless they're in a bag. Okay? They're not separate. You can't categorize them as a group, meaning one. Okay? Just please and thank you and excuse me. I think that would go a long way for most people. In fact, I have seen shocked looks on people's faces when I have stopped and held the door open for somebody. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. So there you go. I guess that's what the problem is in the world. People don't expect people to be polite. And maybe that's why other people aren't polite themselves, because, if this is what people do to you, then after a while you get a little hard and cynical, like me. Become a grumpy old man, I guess. Just waiting to get a cane so I can knock these people on the head. Yeah, again, my imagination running overtime. Okay, so that's what's pissing me off this week, and that was all triggered by that one lady. Notice I hesitated on the word lady, who thought that the liquor store was all for her own private viewing and that she answered to no one. Whatever. Bitch. Okay, moving on. What we got? Product reviews. Okay, couple of things I bought, little toys. Nothing too exciting and nothing to do with crafting, but with quilting. One of them is this little thing. These have been around for centuries, I think. It's a seam roller. At least that's what I call it. I don't know what the technical name is. But in quilting, you're piecing things together all the time, and you're supposed to press the seams and that kind of thing. Well, if you have to keep getting up from your sewing machine when you're doing a bunch of the same kind of things, it's a bit of a pain. So I know people have recommended this. I've seen them in videos. They come in different, some are plastic, this one's a wood one. And basically, you put it on your seam, give it a few rolls, and it presses it. So without having to use an iron. Of course, it doesn't replace an iron when you're quilting, because you'll use the iron for larger pieces and when you get things together, but for those quickie little seams that you're working on. And I was kind of skeptical because these aren't particularly cheap. This one I got at Ultimate Sewing. It was about $21.95 for it. So, you're not talking a cheap little toy here. But I bought one. And wow, am I ever glad I did. It's very, very effective. It works well. Who would have thought something as simple as a little wooden wheel could do, what it does? And it does, and it does it well. So, good investment. The other thing I bought is this strange looking little device here. Now, you remember some months ago I was talking about the item I ordered that was supposed to sharpen rotary blades, and the problems I had with that and the whole bit. And the bottom line of that is I have 2 of them. And if you want to know why I have 2 of them, you'll have to find that vlog on there, because that was quite a process when I explained that before. So anyways, bottom line is it doesn't work. It doesn't sharpen anything worth a toot. Then I was watching a YouTube video about essential tools or something like that, and this one lady was talking about this device, and this is a rotary blade sharpener as well. Works a little differently from the other one. Of course, it's manual, but these 2 little pieces unscrew, and your rotary blade sits in here. You screw the two pieces together, and so what you now have is a lethal weapon because you have a rotary blade hanging out all the way around this. The edge of it's exposed. And then this little device, this wheel, has two sides. One side has a really coarse sandpaper like surface. I think is that the coarse side? No, I think this is the coarse side. And this side, and the other side is a finer side. So what you do is, you've got your blade hanging out of here. You put it in here. The blade will rest right along this ring. Oh, you're supposed to wet this a little bit. And you just put it on here and you twist. And it says to do about 20, 30 twists on the one side. Flip it over to the finer side and do the same. It says you may have to do it a little bit longer than just that, depending, but it will sharpen the blade. I was a little skeptical after having the experience with the one that was the electric version, but I thought, what the heck? I think it came out to about 25 bucks, free shipping or something on Amazon, and so I ordered it and I tried it and it works. I'm impressed. Though this little tool works really well. Now that other one cost about $70 or $80, okay, and doesn't work, worth a tinker's damn. But this, for $25, works very, very well. Now you got to be careful with it. You could cut yourself, so you know you've got a blade exposed here, so you want to be careful. But it does work. So I'm impressed by that little gizmo. Plus, it's very portable. You know, if you were going off to a retreat or something and your rotary blade is getting dull, you just pull this out of your bag of tricks and away you go. Whereas the other one, you have to have a power source and all that kind of stuff. So I wish I had known about this before I saw the one that I spent the money on and went through hell with on that one. As I said, if you want to know the story about that, it's back in a vlog. Oh, I don't even know what number of the vlog it is, but it's probably in one of the ones in the 60s, the numbers. Okay. All right. So those were my new toys this week. So let's talk about the book of the week. It's called Paper Every Day. And basically, it's paper crafting. It says 30 creative ways to use your favorite scrapbook papers. So those of us that are scrapbookers, we all have a stash of papers coming out of our yin-yang, really. We see them, they're pretty, we buy them. A lot of times, like me, I don't buy single sheets, I buy the whole pad kind of a thing. And there it sits forever. I have so many of those pads, you've heard me talk about this before, that I don't know what to do with them because they're just, I bought them at the time and they were expensive. You know, they run $30, $40, $50 depending on, you know, the company and the type of paper and how much is in it. So there they are, sitting around doing nothing. I don't scrapbook much anymore. Actually, I don't scrapbook at all anymore. Yeah, here's an aside, just an aside. You know that we've been cleaning up my mother's apartment and things like that, getting ready for, you know, when she'll eventually move into a nursing home. And I found in the apartment some scrapbooks that I had made for my mother for certain special occasions. And they haven't been looked at all. So I thought, what am I going to do with these? Plus, they were kind of duplicates because the pages that were in it were pages that I had done twice. And so I've got copies of them at home anyways. Now, I never look at them. So I thought, you know, I'm going to keep a couple of them. There's a couple there that I know she would like to hang on to. But there's a couple of other ones that I made for whatever reason that weren't really, you know, who cares kind of a thing. So they went in the garbage. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. You know, like you make all these things and then where do they end up? Landfill. A lot of times, you know. But anyways, that's where this paper could go too until you get a book like this. And this shows you different things you can use your decorative papers for. 30 different projects, as it says. And I'm sorry, there's a glare on it, but there's some neat ideas in here. You know, especially if you're a paper crafter, you'd probably like this a great deal. And it's a way to use up your stash. It's also a good thing. It's sort of a way to make gifts for people as well. You know, people that would appreciate the time and effort that went into it, of course. You don't give them to people who are just going to throw it in the garbage when you're not looking. So it's called Paper Every Day is by Laurie Dewberry. And what did I pay for it? Well, Canadian, it was $26.99. But I went onto Amazon. Okay. Another bargain of the week. Remember last week, the book, you could get it for 56 cents Canadian? Okay, this one, if you buy it brand new, it's $23.55, which is a little cheaper than what I paid for it originally. However, in the used book section of Amazon, I saw it for as low as $1.56. And 9 times out of 10, anytime I've ordered them as used books off Amazon, they come in brand new condition. Nothing wrong with them. And if, in the cases where some of them had a little wear and tear, it was just, maybe a little dog-eared up here, but didn't affect what was the content or anything else in the book. So, if this is something that you might think you're interested in, but not sure, go to the used book section and get it for a bargain, especially if you can get free shipping, because sometimes in there too, you can get it for free shipping, even if you don't have Prime. Prime doesn't always get you free shipping on everything either. It depends. You got to watch that. And just as another aside, if you don't know what Prime is on Amazon, you pay a yearly fee and it usually gets you fast shipping. Now, Amazon's fast anyways, even if you don't have Prime, but you often don't have to pay shipping on things. Plus, you get access to their app for videos for movies and things like that. I haven't found that really that great, but I think it costs me about $70 Canadian a year, or $79. And when that comes up for renewal, I will renew it, because I use Amazon a lot, and I have figured I've gotten my money back just on what I've saved on shipping for things. So I think it's a good system. Okay, so what's next? Inspiration. Okay, I'm going to combine the inspiration with what's in my drawers this week, because they involve a similar product. I have, as you'll see in the video, in my drawers, Tim Holtz stains. Now, you know that Tim Holtz has distress paint. You know Tim Holtz has distress ink pads and all that. But he did at one time, way back, have stains. And these were basically more translucent inks in a liquid format. They come in like a little dabber bottle. And yeah, so if you have a large area, say in a mixed media journal, and you want to do a background, you can cover it over very quickly, or a tag or whatever, with these stains. And these stains have the same properties as his distress inks, so they're water reactive and all that kind of thing. And because they're somewhat translucent, you can see the layers through them, so you can do some very interesting backgrounds. I had forgotten all about those. I have every color that he came out with. I've got duplicates in some cases. So I thought, using these in a mixed media journal, this is the inspiration part of this tip, would be really great with some really cool effects for backgrounds. So I am going to play with them some more. But one word about them. You can't buy them anymore. They stopped producing them. So if you find them anywhere, it'll be like old stock. Okay, so make sure they're not dried up. Although mine have been sitting around for like 5 or 6 years on a shelf, and they are still just as liquidy as they were the first day I bought them. So unlike some of the other products that I've shown in what's in my drawers, they're not all dried up. So they still work. What he did was he basically replaced them. Well, he didn't replace them. He also has sprays, spray inks. And the spray inks are pretty much the same as the stains. The only difference is they're in a spray bottle. They might not be quite as translucent either, but they still have the same properties. So I guess he figured it was duplication. So people were either buying the stains or buying the sprays, and he went with the sprays and got rid of the stains. So in what I'm going to show you right now in my drawers, what I'm doing with the stains, you can do with the sprays as well. And the sprays are still available. So just watch this. So what's in my drawers this week? A blast from the past. I bought these way back when I first got hooked onto Tim Holtz products. And these are his distress stains. I have them in all of the colors that he ever came out with, and they've been sitting on my shelf literally for years untouched, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with them today. They still seem very fluid, but we'll check it out. Now, to be honest, I have not used these very much, but because I was obsessed with Tim Holtz products, of course, I had to have the complete set, and so I have the complete set and duplicates of these distress stains. Now, they're basically a really runny version of the ink in his distress ink pads, and I think they have the same properties as well. I think that they are water reactive. Now I'm just looking here, and it says shake well before using, remove cap, and lightly press against surface to release liquid. Easy ink coverage for backgrounds and large areas. Mist with water to lighten color and create mottled effects. Apply layers of stain for more saturated color. Coordinates with the distress palette of products. So according to this, then, they are water active, but I'm not sure if once they dry whether they retain or will become active again when you spray water on, but we'll try. Now, as it says on the label in the instructions, and I remember Tim Holtz showing this, they were really something that were quick for doing backgrounds. Of course, Tim always demonstrates his products usually on tags, and I do remember seeing videos where he just swipes color onto things and away you go. Having said that, these might be something that I can use in my art journal classes, revisit them, but I don't think you can buy them anymore. I'll have to look into that. So let's just see how these work. I've got two pieces of Tim Holtz Distress cardstock here. One's watercolor. This is his watercolor, and this is the watercolor with a grain on it. And I've got out a stencil and a water brush just to try a couple of things. Okay, you see they have this little tip on the top, and it's a little sponge, and this is an applicator. Now, well, I thought that might be dried up by now, but it doesn't look like it. So you press it onto this, and you can very quickly get a background with these. So let's try adding another color. Now it talks about layering. This one still works too. Surprising that finally I have a product that I haven't used in years that isn't dried up. Now they don't seem to blend together all that well, but he said layering. So we'll try that in just a second. Ooh, that's kind of a nice color. You know, I was debating whether I should throw these out, but I'm thinking right now, no, these would use these for doing backgrounds in mixed media classes. So I'll have to see if they're still available, because I'm sure there are some of the people in my, forgot to shake them up, I'm sure there's some people in my art journal classes that don't know what these are because they haven't been on the market in a long time. Actually, I am kind of enjoying this. And when I started recording this, I was thinking, what am I going to say about these things? Okay, won't bother with that color. So there we go. I've got them on here. They seem to dry very quickly. Let's see what happens if I spritz a little water on them. Are they reacting? They're sort of reacting. Can I get them to move? Yes, I can get the color to bleed a little bit into each other, which is kind of a neat effect. This is just the textured, the wood grain card. This is kind of neat because look at, see these lines are running down into like the grain. Let's get a little bit more water. See if we can get a little bit more run here. Well, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Kind of got it on my hands too. So, yes, you can get some interesting effects, like all of Tim Holtz's products that are water reactive. Now he says you can use these with his distress inks. Of course, you could probably use these with the oxides as well, and that might be an interesting effect. So I'll just leave that. I think I'll give it a hit with the heat gun. What I want to see next is whether or not, once they're completely dry, whether or not they will reactivate when I put water on, because I honestly don't remember. It's been that long since I've used these. Just give it a little bit more so you can see it did work because of the water, the cardstock that I'm using. Again, this is Tim Holtz's cardstock, but you can use them on regular cardstock too. But the thing is, once they get dry, they flatten right back out. Now I have a little pooling over here, so I'm just going to... Oh, I see something now. I think they will reactivate when you hit water, because that was a wet baby wipe, and it sort of left this interesting impression on here. I'll just let that air dry for now for the sake of time. Okay, so now the thing about them that makes them a little different from his distress inks, I remember now, is that these are a little bit more translucent or transparent, whichever way you use that word. In other words, you can see through them a little bit better than you can through the inks. But let's try, see how water reactive they are by just putting a stencil on and using the technique of taking a fresh baby wipe and wiping through the stencil, and see if we can lift some of the color off and what kind of an effect we can get. Definitely something coming off, because it's coming off on my baby wipe. And yes, you can. Now I did get a little pilling on the paper because I did rub it fairly hard, and that could be part of the reason for the pilling, could be because I'm using watercolor paper. Also, maybe I shouldn't bother to have dried it first. But yeah, you get an interesting texture. So I'm seeing all kinds of possibilities for backgrounds in art journal pages. Okay, let's go back to this one, the wood grain effect. It's kind of cool with the wood grain effect. Let's get this to flatten out a little bit here. There's some interesting effects up there at the top. Now this presents an interesting idea. Let's see what happens. Okay, first of all, he says to layer them. I didn't really layer them. I would assume you should let them dry between layers. So let's see what happens here. I think that's pretty good. So let's take the color I didn't use, whatever this is, some form of blue. I notice I have different labels. Must have been at different times when I bought them. This one tells you the color. This one, maybe this is an older label, but it doesn't really tell you the color, or does it? Yeah, it's broken china. They have it on the side. So we'll shake it up, and let's see what happens when I try to layer it. Get it started off the paper for a minute. There we go. Yes, it does layer. So again, lots of potential here for interesting background techniques. Okay, I'm just going to let this one set this one aside, bring this one back in, and let's see what, for giggles here, let's see what happens when I apply some oxide inks to this. Just bear with me. So here's some oxide inks. Let's try the Salty Ocean. Guess I better have an applicator. If I can find an applicator. Well, here's one for peacock feathers. So I'll use peacock feathers. It doesn't really matter. That's all I'm going to put on, but then I'm going to do a little bit of water in my hand, see what we get in terms of reactions. Let that just sit, because oxide inks, of course, react very readily to water, and oh, it's creating some interesting things here. Blot a little bit. So actually, that's cool. So using the distress stains in conjunction with the distress oxide inks is kind of interesting. You get a really kind of cool background effect. So I can see that in one of my upcoming art journal classes, I will be reintroducing these along with the oxide inks as a background technique. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to have much luck with this at all, but I'm definitely have to use these again, and I'll definitely have to find out whether or not they're still available. Okay, so that's what's in my drawers this week. Okay, so what's that take us to now? Events of the past week. Well, update on my mom. Got a phone call last Tuesday morning, I think it was, at 8 o'clock from my mother's doctor. She's got a new doctor now. It's one that's been assigned to her that's in the hospital. And a week before, she had an MRI. And so the doctor was calling me to let me know the results. And so essentially, my mother has a couple of what they call compression fractures in her spine, which are not unusual as you get older. You know, they always say we shrink. Well, you know, puts pressure on the spine. And my mother over the years has had some bad falls as well, which she never, you know, she was in pain for several days and never would go to a doctor about that. Those may have been caused by those falls. Also, she's got a couple of discs that are bulging a little bit. I think that's, now the doctor never said this, but I think that might be what they call a herniated disc. Not really sure. But the doctor said, really, there's not much she can do about that, and since she's not in any real pain or anything, they're just going to leave it. I mean, if suddenly she starts to have excruciating pain or something from all this, then they'll have to look at other kind of treatments. In the meanwhile, they looked at her bone mass, and she has very frail bones, osteoporosis, right? Which again, older people will get osteoporosis, and women especially are prone to osteoporosis. I thought my mother was on an osteoporosis drug. Apparently not. The doctor she had before, or Dr. Quack, as I like to refer to her, because, well, don't get me going on that one. There was mention of the possibility of having osteoporosis, but all she did was say to my mother, oh, take vitamin D or calcium. Okay, fine. And my mother was taking that. Anyways, this new doctor has put her onto an osteoporosis drug proper that she has to take every day, and it won't cure, it can't build bone mass, but the doctor said it can slow down, and preserve the bone mass she has left, kind of a thing. Doctor was very, very nice. very thorough, explained everything very clearly to me. So that was good. Now, there is a possibility that the doctor was saying she was going to take this her report and give it to the neurologist that my mother had seen back a few months ago. And they might want to do something, a nerve test or something on her legs or leg or something, because they think that might be contributing to her immobility as well. The doctor said she'd leave that decision up to the neurologist, because I guess the neurologist knows more than she does about that, and we'll see. So don't know when that's going to happen, if it's ever going to happen or not. But generally speaking, my mother's in good health. You know, barring what I just told you, of course, and the fact that she can't really walk. She's doing okay in the hospital. It's hard to believe, but in another week, it'll have been 3 months that she's been in the hospital. So she's still there, still waiting. I'm hoping she's going to take advantage to the activities they have in this section of the hospital she's now in. It's more like a nursing home in the section she's in now, and they have daily activities, and I've been encouraging my mother to take advantage of this, and she says she's going to. I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, and you know why I say that, because of things I've said before about my mother's attitude towards certain things. So anyways, she's doing okay. It's a waiting game. And we've been going over to her apartment, and we're starting to get her stuff organized. We're going over there later today after we visit my mother again in the hospital, and take some of the boxes we've marked for, charity, for Value Village, and get those out of there. But when we went in earlier last week, we were kind of surprised at something we found. On the floor in her living room, underneath her living room window, are all the carcasses of dead wasps. Not 10, not 15, like 100, 120, just massive. A couple of them are still a little bit alive, but like doped right out of their minds, kind of a thing. So they were coming in from somewhere, and we were trying to figure out where. Well, she does have this section of the wall that kind of goes to the outside. It's meant for you to put an air conditioner in. Well, she never had an air conditioner. So it's all kind of boarded up, and there's insulation in there. And we could see little pieces of styrofoam that the wasps had sort of chewed through and spit out on the floor, kind of a deal. So we figured somewhere in there they were coming through. And wasps can be very destructive. They can eat through mortar and things like that. They in your house, kind of a deal, if they want to. So went over and spoke to the superintendent and had him come in and take a look. I said, "You want to see this?" And he came and looked, and he was, "Whoa, that's a problem." And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Okay, I'll get the pest control people over here to check this out and whatnot." And I said, "Okay, fine." So a few days later, we were back over at the apartment, and I saw the superintendent again, and I asked him, I said, I knew that somebody had been in, because I could tell, because certain things had been disturbed. And he says, "Yeah." He said, "You were right, they're all coming from that panel," but he said, "We kind of looked around in there, and there are hundreds of them in that panel." And he said, "We didn't want to disturb them." Right, yeah, you can get them mad at you with that many in there. He said, so the pest guy, he did something. He had used a spray or something else that he got up in there amongst them, which will eventually kill them. So there could be still a few more getting into the apartment until they are finally, the whole colony, or whatever you call a group of wasps, are wiped out by this other stuff. So I was really glad my mother doesn't live there anymore, because she's deathly afraid of bees, for one thing. And, she doesn't need to be stung. And when you have that many, that could be fatal. So anyways, we sucked up the dead carcasses of the ones that were in there, and we'll just keep watching it as we slowly get the apartment cleaned out and that kind of thing. And then, heaven help whoever else moves into that place later. I hope they're able to do something a little bit more than just, kill them. That way, they need to clean out that whole panel, I guess, and they probably will once we're out of that apartment. And the cold weathers will come upon us soon anyways, and of course they all go dormant in the wintertime, but nevertheless. nice little surprise. Okay, so what else came up this week? Oh, I had my monthly art journal classes. They've started up again. So we had our first one for the month of September yesterday, Sunday. And this year I'm taking a little different approach under the advisement of the people that are my regulars that come to this class every month. We've been doing this for 2 years. We're starting our 3rd year. And this is a great group because they're not afraid to take risks and chances. Doing mixed media anyways is full of risks and chances because you never know what the final product's going to be like. And if you're one of those kind of people that everything has to be exact and perfect, mixed media is not for you because it never comes out exact or perfect. You have a vague idea of what you're looking for your end product, but it always evolves from that. So we did jelly plate printing, not unlike what we did on Stephen and Walter Live last week, except this time it was a little bit more sophisticated. We were trying to do transfers from magazines and books onto the jelly plate and then pick those up onto, and you get a really abstract, distressed looking image. And it's a hit and miss process because there are a whole bunch of factors involved. Nothing ever works the same way twice. So it's a lot of experimentation or playing around with it. So you have to be patient and you have to expect that out of all the prints that you pull, you're only probably going to get a small portion of them that are actually what you were hoping to get. It doesn't mean the other ones are a waste. You can use them for other things. So I told them this, but they want to do this anyways. And everybody in the group got at least 1 or 2 prints that turned out fantastic, but they got a whole lot of background papers too. And they seem to be happy about doing that. I think they'd much rather have me give them a minimal amount of instruction and a minimal amount of organization around things, structure, so they can play. They want to play with the medium, and that is just fine by me. It makes coming up with what we're going to do each month a lot easier, and I enjoy the experimentation as well. So that's kind of fun. So having said that, in October we're going to do a Halloween Thanksgiving themed session, and scrapbookers have crops, quilters have retreats, mixed media people, I don't know what we have. So it'll be like a mixed media crop kind of thing where everybody is we've got a loose theme and they're just going to do whatever they want to do using that theme. And they don't necessarily have to follow the theme. And they're happy about that. I'm going to take a few different formats, art journal, some tags, and some things that I have done by Halloween theme using, embellishments and the techniques of mixed media and as inspiration, and just go from there. So that'll be playtime. But while we were doing these, making all these papers, background papers with the jelly prints, I got thinking of Barb Owens, what she calls mental fart right now. She just did a thing on paste papers. That's it, paste papers. Quite some time ago, Barb did a whole thing about paste papers, and I gave it a try and loved it. It's fun, and it's just a way to use up your bits and pieces of scrapbook papers, other papers, jelly prints, everything like that, and you'll create a big sheet of a collage, basically. But it's an abstract collage. I guess all collages are somewhat abstract, but it's not really thought about or planned out. And then you have this giant sheet all done up like this that you can cut down to ATC size. You can use as backgrounds for scrapbooking pages, fronts on cards, other mixed media projects, the whole bit. And the thing I like about doing paste papers is you don't have to really put a lot of thought into it. It's just fun. It's very relaxing. It's creative. You get to play with glue, and it's paste. Basically, you're brushing it on, which reminds me, I'm looking over to the side here. Where is my big jar of paste? When I first did this, I made a big jar of this. It's this powdered paste from Elmer's, and you mix it with water. It's supposed to keep for quite a while in a jar. So I mixed that up over a year ago. When I find it, let's see how effective that is. But that's what I think we'll do in November. And it's also a way of using up bits and pieces that you got laying around your stash as well. And I think it's just fun. So, and they seem to be all gung-ho about doing something like that as well. So, great group. We had a good time. And everybody, we learned something and we created something. And speaking of creating, also as a sub part of this group, a couple of the ladies have organized it. They're big into ATC cards. And so every month they give the group a theme, and the people who want to participate make ATC cards and they share them. And of course, I don't actually participate in it because I don't really like making ATCs. They're too small for me. They're cute, but too small for me. So a couple of the ladies in there always give me a couple of ATC cards. And I have quite a collection of them now, and I put them on display in my craft room. I'm going to have to get another bulletin board, I think, because this one's getting filled up. But I just thought I'd show you what they created. This is Joanne's. Very nice. I forget what the theme was. It may say on the back. Title is Flowers. Maybe that was what the theme was. She often gives a theme or a topic. So that was very nice. This is one by Gina. Little bees on it. I'm getting a glare, sorry. Yeah, it's a little better. Very pretty. And they put them in these nice little holders too to protect them. This one is by Carolyn. Same idea, and hers is textured. She's got texture on here as well, and there's a little bit of sparkle and shine to that one. And then I think this came from Joanne, Artist Trading Coins, Morsels. I think this is from Cat Han. This has been a new trend in ATCs, is to make round ones, or coin-like. And so this one's very nice too. So I can appreciate the effort and the thought and the creativity that goes into these, and that's why I hang them up where I can admire them. But I just personally not really a big fan of making them. Just me, okay? But these are lovely, and I appreciate the fact that they thought of me and gave me one. Okay, what's coming up? Not much, although this is actually is a kind of a busy week. But it's a busy week for busy things. Like today, off to visit my mother again. We go about 2 or 3 times a week over to the hospital. Then we got to go over to her apartment. And as I said, we have a whole bunch of boxes we've marked for Value Village, which is a charity, to donate to them. It's all her kitchen stuff there. My sister's supposedly going over there today too to start sorting out her clothes. So, you know, warm wear, cold wear. And it's hard to know when she does get into a nursing home exactly how much she needs out of that. So I have a feeling, you know, a lot of these clothes she'll never wear again, probably. But I'm a man, so what do I know about women's apparel? That's why I tasked my sister with this, because she's a woman, she should know. So we've got that. On Tuesday, we've got a couple of meetings to talk to. Well, we've got a meeting over at the art gallery because I want to find out what other opportunities there might be for volunteers, because as I've mentioned before, my main volunteer function at the art gallery was as an educator and to work with school groups that came in and things like that. Well, that new person that they hired at the art gallery over a year ago, who decided to revamp the entire curriculum and basically knocked us out. I'm a little pissed at that. There's always been docents. That's the technical name for educators. It's an old word. Always been. In the 51-year history of this art gallery, there have always been educators, volunteer educators. At one point, they actually paid them too, but that stopped a long time ago. Then suddenly one person comes in and writes us off. And some of those people that were doing on the education team have been doing it for like 20 years or longer. Never said, thanks for your help, we don't need you anymore, bye-bye. Nothing. Just didn't involve us. And as much as we tried to keep ourselves involved and offered, like there's an awful lot of expertise amongst this group of people, even though we offered that expertise freely for wherever they could fit it in or thought it would be useful in that, nothing. Just from this one person. So I'm ticked at that. So here we are. I sent an email out to one of the coordinators for this area, who actually, she's the one that should be the boss. But apparently this new body that came in there, she's the boss over this other one. She doesn't know what's happening either. So I have a feeling we just have been unofficially disbanded. So then, of course, Walter and I were volunteering for RMG Fridays, which was basically slap their hands and, you know, don't touch the art kind of thing. And we're bored with that. Quite frankly, I think that's wasting the talent we could bring, like our backgrounds, what we could bring to the art gallery with it. That's a job. They have security guards. So the security guards are paid. Let them do that. And quite frankly, there's never been really any major problem. People know they're in an art gallery that they shouldn't walk up and go feely, feely, feely on the art and things like that. So it's not a big problem with that. So we're meeting with the coordinator of the volunteers and that, just to talk about other possibilities. Now, she's about to leave too, and her job's going to be filled by somebody else because she's going on paternity leave because she's expecting her first child, later this year. So I think she's leaving in about October. So I don't know if we get to meet the new person or what's happening with that. So I don't know what other opportunities there are. Quite frankly, I don't think there's many opportunities left. And we'll see. And then we have a meeting with the owner of Ultimate Sewing and to offer to help with the technology in the store, because she basically asked me about this once. She said she didn't know that much about computers. Since we set up this meeting and I was working out a little proposal for her of what we could do, examining her website and things like that, basically the bottom line is if it ain't broke, why fix it? She's doing very well with what she's got. I really don't think there's anything more that Walter or I can offer to her that is going to have a significant impact on her business. She has a very well run business, and so we're going to meet with her again. I already sent her a very lengthy email actually to state what I just said now, but and my reasons behind it, because I don't want her to think that we were getting a little pushy about it. We don't need a job or anything like that. It's just, I guess, we really like Shirley. We really like the atmosphere of the store, and she's done a lot of nice things for us. Yes, sure, it's business, but I've dealt with lots of businesses in my life and not got the kind of service and the personal attention that this store's staff and Shirley gives to you. So, I kind of want to pay it forward. But I only want to do something if there's a real need too. It's not a make work project. So, I mean, if she still wants me to help her with, certain things on her computer she's not sure of, I don't have any problem with that. I will do it. But I don't think there's much beyond that that I can offer to her. So, and I think she's just too nice a person to say no. Although she's a very strong lady. So, I mean, I think if push came to shove, she could say no. But, I don't want her to feel that she would hurt my feelings if, she said, I really don't need that or whatever. No, she wouldn't hurt my feelings. That's fine, So anyways, that's Tuesday. Wednesday, Wednesday, I have to take Walter to Honda to have his windshield replaced because, I told you last week about, in my pissed off session about a stone flying up from a gravel road and, well, basically cracking his window, and the crack's now gotten about this long across. So that goes in Wednesday morning, and his car's going to be in there most of the day for that. Apparently it's got to sit after they put the windshield in for 3 or 4 hours, I guess, for the glue or whatever it is. I don't know how you do these things. Dries, sets, whatever. And on Thursday, we have to go and get our blood tests done because next week we have physicals with my new doctor. It's his old doctor. He's been going to this lady for a while, but she has taken me on as well because my doctor that I've had since the beginning of time, he finally retired. So luckily I was able to get in with this new doctor. So we're having physicals. So that'll be fun on Thursday as well. And then on Friday, no, we don't have anything on Friday, I don't think. But on Saturday, I have my first machine embroidery class at Ultimate Sewing in the afternoon. And that's the beginning of all the classes I'm going to take from now until about Christmas with that. And Walter, he starts next week one of his serger classes as well. So yeah, I guess I was thinking there was nothing coming up, but I guess there is a lot of stuff, but it's busy stuff, okay? Plus, I still have the things that I want to do, like that table runner I was talking about, learning how to quilt, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So anyways, never a dull moment, I guess. So I hope you don't have any dull moments this week, and I hope every moment you have is a good one. So have a great week, and we'll see you Sunday for Stephen and Walter Live at regular time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll see you next week on the next vlog. Bye for now.